Hello, my dear friends. This is Andrew Harvey, and I am thrilled to announce the creation of a Center of Hope in Bali and to invite you all to the celebrations at the end of October, from October the 28th to November the 10th. How can I possibly begin to explain how amazing this center is for me? I'm going to try. When I was 6 years old, I came to England for the first time and was completely thrilled. But at that time, I was obsessed with the Egyptians. So I persuaded my mother to take me to the Egyptian section in the British Museum. But on the way, I saw that South Pacific was playing and begged her, okay, we'll go to the Egyptians some other time. Let's go to South Pacific. So we went to South Pacific, and I have never, ever forgotten the moment when that beautiful, big, luscious woman sang Bali High, Bali High. And for my whole life, I have longed to go to Bali, longed to see Bali, longed to experience what I experienced in listening to that astonishing song in the middle of a grey London afternoon. But my life took me in many directions, as many of you know, and I didn't get back to Bali. I didn't get to Bali, in fact, until I was in my 60s. I say get back to Bali because Bali has always been a haunting and profound fragrance in my soul. The reason why I went to Bali is that I was invited by a very, very close and wonderful friend of mine, Lilly White. Lilly is an amazing writer, a profound teacher, a passionate lover of Bali, and she told me when I met her 10 years ago in Canada that Bali would change my life and that there was someone in Bali whom I had to meet, a Mr. Prana. I listened carefully, but again, life took me away. And then 2 years ago, I went. I went to Bali for the first time, and I met the astonishing being that was Mr. Prana. I say was because unfortunately he's died. Mr. Prana is really the key to the whole center of hope. I could give you an hour-long spiel on Mr. Prana, but nothing that I could say could ever get anywhere near the tenderness and beauty and depth and courage of this astonishing man. Mr. Prana belonged to the royal family of Mengwi. He was a successful businessman, and about 15 years ago he had a series of dreams in which the goddess told him that his duty was to restore the coral reefs. He had no idea about the coral reefs. He knew that they were being destroyed outside Pemuteran, but he had no idea what to do. But she said, I will teach you the technology. To cut a very long story short, Mr. Prana followed the goddess's instruction, put down the technology in the coral reefs outside Pemuteran in the north of Bali, and they revived. And he became world famous and received 29 international honors for this stunning, wild, brave piece of sacred activism. When I met him, we fell profoundly spiritually in love. I just recognized in him the same kind of ordinary, extraordinary holiness that I've recognized in the Dalai Lama. He was a man of that stature. And he and I had many conversations about what we would love to do together because he loved my work of sacred activism and this vision that I'm bringing of sacred activism. And we planned in our last conversation to create a center of hope in Bali dedicated to engendering solutions for our contemporary global work crisis. Well, Mr. Prana died last year in May, tragically, and for a while his family was sunk in grief. But then the two sons of Mr. Prana, whom I met again when I went back to Bali last year, said, look, we've got to continue this vision of our beloved father, and he loved you and your work, and let's do this amazing center together. And Lilly, of course, was thrilled because this was the consummation of her her plan for my soul and Mr. Prana and her soul to come together in this amazing adventure. Well, my friends, we are going to open the Center of Hope in Bali on October the 28th, about 40 minutes outside Ubud. And we are going to follow 3 days of ceremonies, gorgeous sacred ceremonies in the private chapels of the royal family of Mengwi, because the king has given us his imprimatur. We're going to follow 3 gorgeous days in the private chapels of the royal family of Mengwi, private temples, with 2 extraordinary sets of teachings. First, by Banafsheh Sayyad, the legendary Iranian sacred dancer, my great friend, whose brilliance and nobility and grandeur constantly inspire me, and who has discovered and uncovered and created this astonishing modality called Dance of Oneness. We're going to follow Banafsheh Sayyad with Scilla Elworthy. Now, Scilla has been nominated for the Nobel Prize 3 times. Scilla created Peace Direct. Scilla was behind many of the most powerful movements against nuclear proliferation. Scilla began with Desmond Tutu, the Council of Elders. Scilla has written extraordinary books on the divine feminine. She wrote a book called Pioneering the Possible, and she's written a major book on visionary business. And she's going to come after Banafsheh and teach on business and peace, business as an enterprise that can create thriving, sustainable living. I wanted to begin with 2 major women teachers because, as you know, I have been a devotee of the divine feminine for 40 years, and I believe that so much of the really challenging and extraordinary and radical work in the world is being done by women. What is this vision that drives Center of Hope? It's very simple, and it is a vision of bringing together the most powerful, exciting, pioneering Western thinkers in all the fields that are now important, of the environment, of religious interfaith, of women's rights, of gay rights, of animal rights, all the various fields in which crisis is reigning, to bring together the leading cutting-edge pioneers in each of these fields with the shamans and the deep practices, the ancient practices of sustainable living that have been so deeply championed and pioneered actually in Bali. And out of this meeting of the grandest and most cutting-edge Western science and spirituality and the deep cultural richness of Bali, this culture that is still sacredly intact, still filled with the most extraordinarily adept shamans and profoundly soulful priests and seekers, to bring these 2 halves of the global mind together, and heart together, so that new solutions prompted by deep sacred inspiration and sacred friendship between all of us can be created. If you want to come, and I beg you to come, because when will you have the chance to have 3 days of sacred ceremony in Bali in the royal temples of Mengwi? When will you have the chance to study by the side of the sea in the most beautiful place I've ever been to, Pemuteran, with such extraordinary figures like Banafsheh and Scilla? When will you have the chance to be at the beginning of the creation of a center inspired by the noble example of Mr. Prana and inspired by my work, by Lilly's work, inspired by the sacred culture of Bali? When will you have the chance to participate in the birth of a center that I profoundly and deeply hope will be one of the beacons of radical, engaged hope in our dangerous world? So I am really appealing to all of you. Come, 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 come. Come and dance with us. Come and dive into the project with us. Come and relish the teachings with us. Come and invite your friends that are truly longing to be inspired by new forms of hope and action. We would be so honored to receive you. If you want to know more about this wild and extraordinary project, please go to sacredjourneys.com, where you will see that it's where you will see it all laid out, and where you will see the times where Banafsheh will be teaching and Scilla will be teaching. And really make an effort to clear the time to come and be with me and Lilly and the Prana family and the King of Mengwi and the Balinese shamans and the Balinese priests. Come and be with us, and let's build together a center of real active hope. I'll be following this up with some other transmissions when I come back from the trip that I'm about to take to England, and I'll be writing to you about the vision in more detail. But I wanted to alert you, and I wanted to beg you all to do whatever you can to join us on this momentous adventure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See you in Bali.